friends, it's Christy back with you on the My Favorite Things YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using the new Stacy Yakula Backyard Barbecue stamp set. So I have stamped all the images I'll be using on some Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock with extreme black hybrid ink, and I'll be coloring with my Copic markers. I'm starting with the bear, and I wanted to go with a lighter brown combo today, kind of like a mid-tone brown. So I chose the E30s. I'm going to use E30, E31, E33, and E35. And I prefer to color darkest to lightest, so I am starting with that E35 and laying in some shadows wherever I think they should go. Around the sides of his head, on the undersides of his arms, a little bit under that apron where that would be casting a shadow, and down the inner parts of his legs. And then I'm going to come in with the E33 and begin to blend that out, making sure to go right over the edge of that E35 and pull that darker color into the mid-tone so I get a nice smooth blend. And once I'm done with that, I will come in with the E31, and that is going to be my lightest shade for most of this bear. I am going to use the E30 also on the face, since that is a larger area, and I like to keep the face as light as possible so that you're really able to distinguish those physical features very well. So I'm going to leave some space for the E30 there, but for the rest of his arms and legs, I will be filling in with the E31 as the lightest, just doing little circular motions to kind of break up the edge of that E33 and make sure that everything is nicely blended. And then I will fill in the rest of the face with the E30, also using that little circular motion. I did forget to color in his neck that was showing above the apron, so I'm going back to my E35 and then the E33 and then the E31 to finish off that. And then I'll go in with the E30 on his muzzle. I'm just going to use the one shade there, but I will do an extra layer of that E30 at the top and also fill in the insides of the ears. And then I'm going to use the E31 and the E30 to color in the hamburger bun. Moving on to my hedgehog, I'm going to change up my brown tones and go with some E50s, using E50, E51, and E53 for his skin. I put the shadow along the edge of the part where his body turns into the little spikes, and then blended forward so I have the highlight on his face. And then for those spikes, I'm going to use E55, E57, and E59. Just doing little dash marks with that E59 all along the back. And then kind of in between those, I'll come in with some more using the E57. And then finish him off filling in the rest of those areas with the E55. So we get a nice little variety of tones there. I'm also going to use these shades to color in the hamburgers, both the one on the bun and the one on the grill. So I use the E59 on the left side, blended toward the right with the E57, and finally the E55. Next, I'm going to color the fox, and I'm using YR12, YR14, and YR18, starting with the YR18 and also giving him shadows at the top of his head and the sides of his cheeks where those are kind of protruding out. I'll also give him a shadow down the right side of his body since he's facing a little more toward the left, and on his tail where it is tucked behind his body a little bit. And then I'm going to begin to blend that out with the YR14. I'm going to bring that across the bridge of his nose so that looks like it's been bumped out a little bit, and fill in most of the rest of the orange parts of his body. Bring that color up on his tail as well. And then I'll fill in the rest with the YR12. I'm going to save the lower half of his face and his belly for a different shade. So just carefully coloring in all of those little parts and also filling in the rest of his floofy tail. And I also used the YR12 to color in the cheese on the burger. For the white parts on the fox, I'm going to use E000 and E00, just adding a little bit of shading and letting that fade into the white cardstock as the highlight. For the lettuce on the bun, I used YG05, and then I also wanted to have that color somewhere else on the card, so I did the handle of the spatula with YG05 and YG07. And then I wanted to give my critters some rosy cheeks, so I'm using R11 and R20, doing a little oval shape on the cheek area with the R20 first, and then blending over the edges of that with the R11 so that fades into the rest of their skin color. And then for the lemonade, I'm going to use Y000, Y02, and Y06, also coloring in the lemonade that is in the glass in the fox's hand. I put my shading on the right hand side for both of those and the highlight on the left. Then I'm switching yellows to Y13, Y15, and Y17. These yellows are a bit more golden toned. They have more of an orange undertone in them, so I thought they would be perfect for the mustard bottle. I also use the Y13 just to add a bit more color to the lemons inside the lemonade. And then I'm going to color the inside of the sun with these shades as well, using the Y17 down at the bottom right and blending up with the Y15. And then I'll fill in the rest with the Y13. And then I'm going to go back to the previous yellows that I used for the outer rays of the sun, using the Y06 close to the center, and then blending out toward the edges with the Y02 and then the Y000. I decided to do the grill in red, so I went with R29, R39, and R59, which is a nice deep red. I'm using the R59 on both sides so that I can make the grill look nice and round where the highlight would be in the center. So just filling in with the R39 next, and then using the R29 for the highlight. That's going to give it that nice bright kind of metallic looking sheen. And then I'm going to use the same shades to color in the ketchup bottle. So I'm going to have the darker parts on the outside of the bottle, and then the highlight will be on the label. So just filling that in solid just so it looks like the mustard bottle. For the rest of the grill, I decided to go with some dark grays. I chose T3, T5, and T7. So I'm putting the T7 more toward the back of the grill where that side would be cast in more shadow. Also coloring in the little rubber feet down at the bottom and the inner edge of each of those connecting joints there. And then blending that out with the T5. And then I'll fill in the rest with the T3. And I'm also using that T3 to color the inside of the grill where there would be charcoal or something down below. And I'll also color in the top part of the spatula, just using the very tip of my marker so I can get in those little grooves between the slats. And I put my shading on the right once again and my highlight on the left. And then to do the little oven mitts or pot holders on his hands, I switched out the T7 for the T1, and I'm going to just color those with the shadows down at the bottom and the highlight at the top where the sun would be hitting. For the apron, I decided to go with a denim type material, so I used my favorite combo for jeans, which is B93, B95, and B97. Doing my shadows down both sides of his body and on his shoulders where his head would be casting a shadow, and also on the underside of the pocket, and then blending out that B97 with the B95, just pulling that color toward the middle, and then I'll fill in the rest with the B93. I'll use B000 to add a little bit of a blue tone to the pitcher of lemonade to help that look like glass. And I also added a little bit to the glass in the fox's hand. And then for the hot dogs, I'm going to use E11 and E13. I'll take a black Sakura Jelly Roll pen and go over the eyes of my fox and my bear to make those nice and bright and shiny, and then I'll trim these images out with their matching dies. For the background, I'm going to take the cloud stencil and some salvage patina distress oxide ink and blend that onto a panel of Bristol smooth surface cardstock to create a nice cloudy sky. These backyard cuties need a nice, bright, lovely day for their picnic scene. So I'll just turn that stencil until I get a different cloud formation and continue down that panel, filling in that sky. Then at the bottom, I'll switch to the Drifts and Hills stencil, and I'm going to start with some Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink up at the top, so the grass will be a little bit darker, and then to smooth that out down at the bottom, I'll use some Twisted Citron. I'll set this panel aside to dry, and in the meantime, I'm going to die cut the Picnic in the Park table out of some craft cardstock, and then I'm going to take some pattern paper from the black and white plaid 6x6 set. I'm going to choose one piece for my background, and then I'm going to choose an additional piece for the tablecloth of my picnic table. So I'm just going through and choosing the ones that I would like. I trimmed down the focal panel with the A2 Stitch Rectangle Stacks Set 2, and now I'm stamping my sentiment at the top using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm using the one that says Happy Birthday Hot Stuff because the next day was my husband's birthday and he loves to grill, so I thought this would be the perfect birthday card for him. Then I'm going to insert my card base into the MISTI. I'm using a piece of craft cardstock that I've scored and folded to an A2 standard size card. So it's 4 1/4 tall by 5 1/2 wide. And I'm doing a little trail of little grill implements and condiments down the left-hand side, plus a sentiment that says, "You're flippin' awesome." To assemble this card, I'm going to glue the pattern paper down to cover the entire card front, and I just trim that down using my paper trimmer. And then I've got my focal panel, and I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of that, so it'll give it a little bit of dimension on the card. I'll peel off those release papers, line that up in the center of my card, and press that down into place. Then I can bring in my images. And I'm going to start by adding my bear. I usually do start with the largest image first, plus I wanted him to be back behind the grill, so I'm going to adhere him down over on the left, and then I'll add the grill down in front of him a little bit to his right. And then I'm going to take that picnic table, and I've added the picnic blanket to the top there, so I'll just add some glue to the back of that and put that down over on the right hand side. Then I'll take the fox and I'm going to add him over on the right hand side of the picnic table, and I'm going to put the sun up in the sky on the right hand side as well. So that'll just balance out that sentiment a bit. So I'm just going to add that up over in that top right corner. And then I wanted the little hedgehog to be interacting with the fox. So that's going to go down kind of in between the grill and the fox. And then I have these last couple accessories to add to the top of the picnic table. So I have the pitcher of lemonade, and then I'll put the bottle of ketchup. And then I'll do the little jar of mustard next to that. To finish off this card, I'm going to take a Sakura clear jelly roll pen and cover up the pitcher of lemonade. I'll also do the glass of lemonade that is in the fox's hand. I'm going to do the handle of the spatula and then the label on the ketchup and mustard. And that's just going to give it a little shine when you tip it into the light. So I'll give you guys another peek at the inside of the card as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button. Leave me a comment down below. I love chatting with you guys. Subscribe to My Favorite Things for more inspiring videos just like these here on screen. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.